Hi there, friends. Welcome to another episode of the No Small Stories podcast. This episode, I get to sit down with Ike Turner, a musician extraordinaire. He is involved in so many different projects and plays so many different instruments. I really enjoy his energy. Great person to talk to, and I am thrilled with the conversation that we had. I do hope that you will enjoy it. This episode, Shane had to sit out, but don't worry, he will be back soon. For now, enjoy this awesome conversation that I got to have with musician Ike Turner. So, welcome to another episode of the No Small Stories podcast. This episode, Shane's got caught up with some stuff he's taken care of, so it's just me, but I am here with Ike Turner, who's a friend of my brother John's and into the music scene. Ike, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really, really sweet. I love John. He's such a sweetheart. I'm quite a bit older than him, but I have really strong memories of playing drums in the pep band in high school and looking over and John being there, like being stoked on the drums and stuff. And then
Yeah.
he's just an incredible musician himself. So it was really neat to see the kid grow up,
Oh, so. Yeah. Very, very cool. I like it.
Yeah.
So give us a little introduction to you and your, I did get to look at your links, which we'll share in the description. It seems like you've got a lot of musical adventures that you are on and a part of.
Yes, I do.
It's a good thing. It's good to be busy, right?
I think so. I don't know what the alternative would be. That's true.
Sure, yeah.
My name is Ike Turner. I'm from Wishick, North Dakota, which that's where John is from, and you had some ties there too, and all that.
Good old small town Dakotas.
Completely, yeah. In fact, I just made Nifla soup for dinner tonight. So.
I love Nifla. It's fall. It's like time for Nifla. 100%. I have been having that on my mind. Like, I gotta make some Nifla for sure.
Oh, totally, yeah. So I'm an English professor in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in terms of like creativity, which is your focus here. I've been a musician, I'm remiss to say the word musician, but I've played music my entire adult life, and then even obviously when I was younger too. And I've just always been in a couple different bands, and then now it's much more than just a couple different bands.
I was going to say the number of musical projects that you have links to. I think it's you can say official musician. I think you've got enough out there. If I can call myself a podcaster with the amount of content that I have, I think you're set.
Well, that makes me feel good. Yeah. And when you get older, it just it gets easier in terms of where you find your priorities want to be, I guess. And I have a super rad partner, my wife Melanie, who is a musician as well. She plays in a band as well, and I think we try to work on our balance of like when each of us can go to band practice or go play shows or do whatever, so I'm super lucky,
No, that's really cool when you have someone who's supportive of your creativity and also is, has their own creative things that they're doing. I love that. I think that's great.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. I find that we've got a really, I think there's an inherent sort of maybe Midwestern thing of like not wanting to call attention to when things are going really well.
The waiting for the other shoe to drop kind of scenario. Yeah. I think there's a little bit of that built into us. Yeah.
Completely. So I'm probably damning myself here by saying I think we have a pretty good life, so.
No, go ahead. You know what? Celebrate it. Enjoy it and just be glad for it. I think if you enjoy it, more will come. Right.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. I'm with that. The universe will bring you more of the good feelings if you just appreciate them. Right.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening to some of your music, the different bands that you're in. It's very kind of interesting because they all seem to have their own flavor, basically, right? So can you talk a little bit about like the instruments you play or the different kind of roles? It seems like you've got a couple of different roles depending on what project it is.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, I'll sort of focus on the ones I'm currently sort of in. I have a band called it was a weird name, but one of my children named this one, called Wowza in Kalamazoo. And That one is one where I play mostly just guitar in that band, and on some of the records I play drums and stuff. But and I feel like that one is maybe one where I can steer the vision a little bit, not quote by myself because I trust my bandmates; they're all so awesome and great. But one where I'm like, okay, these are maybe songs I brought in, or we jam and we, kind of that type of thing. Quote my band, but I feel gross saying that.
Well, you're in it, so it is. It's your band, it's their band, right?
Sure, totally, yeah.
You all get to claim it.
That's right. Yeah,
you can all be stakeholders, right?
Totally.
There you go.
And then a person from that band and I have a group called Ike Turner that makes some more like ambient kind of music. And she and I are like 50-50 on that one. We're really, that's important to us for everything to be 50-50 on all the decisions we make and how we put our records together and all that. And that's very rewarding too. I
was listening to the Ike Turner a little bit, and I was enjoying that. I saw on the Bandcamp website, like where you guys have your stuff posted. Yeah. I saw her picture and I had to go I was like, I gotta go find her. And it's gonna sound weird, but it's one of those things where I saw her face and I'm like, I feel like I know you from somewhere.
Oh, lovely.
You're like so weird. And it was it's a funny little synchronicity too. Her name's Frankie, and Frankie is a character in my fictional podcast. That Frankie with an I, and she's kind of like a big deal on the podcast. So I was like, I love that. That's so fun. Maybe I don't know. It was just like a weird little sort of almost like deja vu kind of. I was like, God, I feel like I know her face from somewhere. It's so weird.
Oh, that's fantastic. She will love to hear that. Those synchronicities are right up her alley. She's brilliant. Brilliant musician.
So. Do tell her about it, because it was just such a weird little thing where I'm like, there's no reason for me to think I know you, but I think I know you.
Oh, that's really lovely. Yeah, I'll see her at work tomorrow. We both work at the same place too. So
very cool. Yeah. So is that how you guys got together and started the band, started collaborating together?
No, we did, work together at the time, but no, I think it was just sort of water finds its own level type thing. We both realized we kind of were on the same wavelength on a few things. And that collaboration was really nice when we started. I would send Frankie songs, and then I would record all the parts, the drums and guitars and bass and keyboards and all that stuff. And then sometimes it would be maybe not even 24 hours later, she would send me back this fully completed song with her vocals on it and everything. And it was
so cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. So and then I played drums in a band. Well, I have this here. We have a new vinyl record out, but
I was listening to that. Those ones also. I really love the art that you have for that album. That is really very cool. Yeah. And I the song. I can't remember if it was. Is it? Oh, Thunder.
Oh, Thundercloud and Aquamarine. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the one. And it had a very sort of it kind of had almost like a sort of psychedelic chill kind of feel to it that I was really like this is pretty groovy. I dig it. I like this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely psychedelic. We jokingly call it edibles rock.
But you need to have that out there in the world these days. I mean, it's more and more prevalent. It's more and more. There's a high demand for it.
Sure, yeah.
Absolutely. No, it was really very cool. I was like, some very cool stuff you have going on. I like it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It's been really good. Just maybe two others that I'm currently, three. Sorry.
I was gonna say you have an impressive resume there with all the different projects that you're on and the different things that are out there. Very cool.
It's a lot, I know.
But you know what? It made me feel better, because I'm that person that I kind of have a lot of irons in the fire too, because I just can't stop myself. So I felt better seeing that, being okay, it's not just me.
That's fantastic.
There's other people that get a little overexcited about the stuff they like and do a lot of things.
Yeah, the songs have to go somewhere, they're it's in here and it's got to come out and go somewhere.
You got to express it somehow.
Totally. Yeah. I play in a band called Out, and that's rock music. And then I play in a group where it's kind of just myself and another writer, a woman named Susie, Suzanne Aaron. Sorry, Suzanne. And we have we've made a couple. Well, we made one record. And that one is mostly myself and a couple other people just playing all the music, but I guess maybe mostly myself. And then she adds lyrics and stuff to it, and I like collaborating with her too. And that's very, I
So
think, pretty songs, so.
no, I really like, honestly, all the things that I was listening to, I was like, I did. Why are you not on Spotify and on MTV? Like, this is fantastic. I don't understand. So I don't know if you guys ever do any like put stuff up on YouTube, but if you have something we could share on our channel, that would be really cool too, because
Oh,
I think it's really great stuff you have.
thank
Can I
you.
ask, so when you're collaborating, I know you kind of it's explained on a couple of your pages, you do some sort of, I guess, digital or virtual collaboration. So you
Yeah,
are recording. Can you kind of talk about that process a little bit? So like you would
yeah.
have to record by yourself and you kind of file share. Like what does that look like for you as individuals in the projects?
Absolutely. Yeah. I am also, to be very blunt, I'm incredibly limited in terms of my ability to interface with technology. Um, I use only my phone as my recording device. And
Really?
and that means like only the kind of crappy microphone on my phone. And so how a song goes for me usually is I get a rhythmic idea, or I'll be playing guitar while I'm watching television, or
Mm-hmm.
watching the news or watching the fights or whatever. And then I'll come up with a song, and I play the drums first, and then I layer everything over the top of that. And I think if a real recording engineer or a person who's quite adept at home recording would look at my process or hear it, they would be just like horrified.
But
But
you're still doing it, and that's what matters.
yeah, and when it all comes together, I'm kind of into the sound. I like that it sounds kind of wild or crappy or something, like,
No,
or
you know what it is? It's got like, I think maybe that's part of what made me give me the psychedelic kind of vibes on the some of that music, was that you have that sort of like 70s recorded in a basement kind of vibe. You know what I mean? Like there's something very sort of crunchy, organic in a fun way. So I like it.
oh, thank you. And then there's other bands I'm in where we go to nice studios or like big studios or whatever, and make our records there. And I like that too. I really love when an engineer gets a cool drum sound or a good guitar sound. But for just my own purposes at home, when I'm either generating songs for one group or another, I don't need anything more than that. And I like to layer different kind of percussive elements like bells and cups of water with different amounts of water in them, and then I hit those with
Oh, I
microphones
love
on them.
that.
And
That's
yeah,
so fun.
it's really cool. Yeah. And I would like to say, I think that I would like to credit the public school system of the state of North Dakota and the district, was it 19 Wishick Public School System. They had, compulsory music education when I was a kid. Like I remember going to music class every day. I maybe I'm wrong, but I remember it being
No,
basically every
I
day.
remember when I was in high school. So I'm a little older than John, but like when I
Okay.
was in middle school, high school is when like the band funding really got cut and dropped. And so
Oh
it
yeah,
became not mandatory anymore. And
yeah,
the opportunities really with music and art kind of shriveled up. And
yeah.
but I think what is kind of, even though you have that in some of the public school system, I do think that what you're seeing, with things like cell phones and various things, like I have younger siblings, and like my younger sister likes to play her little ukulele that she has and play around with music. And it's like, that might not necessarily be in the schools anymore, but there are so many things available for young people now. I mean, you have
Yeah.
YouTube, you can learn how to play an instrument from somebody on YouTube, or, there's so
Oh
many
yeah.
various different ways that you can get into creativity. So,
Yes.
there is at least a little bit of technology has taken up the slack in some areas like that.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, and even like they've shown studies about the effects of video games. This is maybe 15-year-old data now, but like the effects of Guitar Hero, that video game, where
Oh,
people
for
would play
sure.
that and then start playing guitar and they'd be into guitar. And my take on that is whatever gets you there, that's fantastic.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah. It just get them excited about it and passionate about it in some way, shape, or form, and get them to explore a little bit. I
yeah,
think that's great.
yeah, big fan of that. So um
Absolutely. Very cool.
yeah,
So now I find this a little bit interesting because John talked about that too, that you start, and I don't know anything about music, but you start with the drum line
yeah,
first.
Yep. So you have to have a pretty solid idea in your mind of where the song is going, obviously, because what you're doing literally is playing along to the song in your mind, right? And you're hoping
Right.
that your time is pretty good. You're hoping that your marks in this change of the song are in there. And mostly I've had success with that for some reason. I kind of hear a song or visualize a song as a complete piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why that is. It's the way I think about music when I'm generating music, you know. So I can really kind of play along to the song in my head. I don't usually play to a click track. I've done that before, but it didn't work too great for me.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I know
but
John talks about that kind of helps you with the keeping time kind of, right?
yeah, keeping the time. And I like a little swing in things, you know, so I don't usually use a click track. But then,
No,
you know,
I think I could kind of get that vibe though in some of the music. Like there's a
yeah,
very sort of, I don't know if flowy or fluid is kind of the right
yeah.
way, but like I definitely dig it. I like that vibe.
Oh, great. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy now on my dotage.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm happy to play the same song for 45 minutes. You know, I'm completely happy doing that. And
What
that
a wonderful blessing for you. Like some people like have we us younger people, we've got the short attention spans and we can't hang on to it. So,
there you
enjoy
go.
that and be happy for yourself that you have that.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone would ever want to sit and listen to that, but I'm happy to do it. So
There's an audience out there for everyone. I firmly believe that. So there's got to be, I mean, look at all of the YouTube videos that are like 24 hours long for relaxing
oh, you're
meditation,
right.
whatever, So I
Oh my
bet you could
gosh, yeah.
absolutely do that.
Yeah, and there's crazy that speaking of that, like, you know, I saw one. Oh, I swear to God, I saw a YouTube video not too long ago that I was trying to figure out the timestamp, but I think it went on for like days. And it was a song that they slowed down by 5,000% or something. And it was just basically tones. It was such a weird trip. It's like, my God, these people are really exploring the further reaches of weirdness.
No, but that's really kind of fun though. You break it really super slow, then all you have is just kind of frequencies and tones. Like that's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, it's really neat. So, like, I'm sure when you're editing your podcast, you've done some like, you know, zoning in on little sound parts or sound waves and been like, you know, you can kind of hear weirdness there.
Do you
So,
know what? There are like I've edited enough that I can see in the sound spikes. And like, oh, that's a cough. That's a what? You know what I mean? And I'm like, nope, get rid of that. We gotta get that stuff out of here.
that's
Like
fantastic.
you watch it and you can start to like, oh, no, I just
Oh,
said, oh, certain
yeah.
words that I know I say over and over again, like or what. Oh, gotta get rid of that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That was a trick with podcasting that I learned recently that blew my mind. I have a friend who does that for a living. He removes all of the ums and the pops and the clicks and tightens things up. That's what he does
Oh,
for him.
really?
And I was just like, "Are you kidding me?" And I'm like, "You, what is that? What you do?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah. That's, I do that at my computer." Ah, it was
I
mind blowing to me, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if good for him if he gets paid for it. I'm still doing that pro bono right now.
Right.
Donate to our Patreon, please, kind of thing. But
That's right. Yes.
we'll get there one day where I can pay somebody to do it
Absolutely.
for
So
real. But no, you do. You get used to seeing those spikes that are, nope, don't want that one.
yes, totally. Yeah. So right on.
I like it. So with you say you record your different tracks,
Yeah.
like every instrument separately, basically, and then you send those files to, different people in your projects.
Yep, either yeah, if that's the goal. Like recently I started working on what is, I don't know if it's going to be a solo record or I really don't know what it is, but I started working on this record based around this percussion instrument I have called a tongue drum. And it's like a
Okay.
metal bum 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 bum. It makes a kind of pretty noise.
Oh, very sort of island.
Yeah, I mean,
What do you call steel drums?
yeah, I would say it is akin to that, maybe a little more muted or a darker sound, but
Okay.
I have a high pitched one too that's more like a steel drum. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a gift my mother gave me for Christmas. It was the Christmas before COVID. And
Oh,
immediately I took to it like, oh my gosh. And I've just been sort of toying with stuff for a couple years, or well, I guess 3 years now, right? And
I know time kind of has collapsed since COVID, hasn't
it is. It's been
it?
really weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for real.
And actually weird. That's very weird. That was the one time in my life where I did not feel terribly creative was that first 6 or 8 months of COVID.
I think that probably happened to a lot of people. Life just shut down and you kind of didn't know what to do with yourself. There was a
Yeah.
lot of, glad there's streaming services available so you could fill your time with,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
binge watching anything you can
Yeah.
distract yourself from reality with, for
I
sure.
yeah, I totally agree. I didn't feel the songs coming out of me at all. I think we made one record during that period, and yeah, I really like that record, but I can hear myself kind of forcing it. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's wild, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I layer all the stuff. I get a mix going, and then I send that to somebody if that's what's needed. If it's a demo, then I send the demo to my bandmates, and I'll say like, hey, I'd like to play it like this, or here's how the song goes, or whatever. Um, and then from sometimes those things make it to record too. Like in the case of a band or a project I have called Majority Haircut, with
I
my
like
friend
that.
Phoebe. Yeah. Those things are how we make our records, is we just do it like that, and that's how the records come out. I think we're gonna try and do a studio recording at some point. I just don't know when or I don't know what's gonna happen there, but
Is that something where you like rent a studio space or do you?
yeah, you pay an engineer to record your record, in a studio. And we've
Hmm.
used some really lovely studios. There's a couple great ones in Kalamazoo that we've used, Broadside and Sunspot and La Luna. Those are great studios. We really love them here. And then I really like recording in Chicago, Illinois, at a studio called Electrical Audio. Um,
Very cool.
yeah, it's a great studio, really, really great. I mean, the proprietor and owner has been a recording engineer for many, many years, and he just has wonderful people there. And one of whom is a friend of mine named Matt. I love recording with him. And then I really like recording at this studio in Iowa as well, called Flat Black Studios, and that's a really fun. You sleep there and you stay there, and like
Oh, cool.
yeah, you like get up in the morning and drink your coffee, and then when you're ready to start going, the guys just like presses record, and you start doing your thing. And I've made a couple records there, or I guess three now. And I really love recording there too. So yeah,
Very cool. I
yeah,
like it. So you kind of travel around to record now. I
yeah,
think you do some touring too now and
yeah.
then.
I sure
Um,
do. Yeah.
so when you're touring, is that, do you have specific projects that you tour with? And what's that, when you're an independent musician, right? Like what does
Yeah.
that process of planning and putting that together look like for you?
Sure. Yeah, totally. I'm pretty well versed in that. So years ago, when I was in bands in college back in North Dakota, when I lived in North Dakota, I went to college at UND in Grand
Oh,
Forks.
okay.
And I played in bands there, two pretty full-time bands, and we toured a lot. Like we would tour anytime we'd have time off, we would hit the road. So I came from that school of being kind of a road dog a little bit. I really liked being on the
Yeah.
road playing music. You can't do that when you have a family, right? Like unless this
Right.
was my main form of income, and it is not,
Right. Yeah. You wouldn't be a
Um,
teacher if you were making money with music, right? I
no,
mean,
yeah, I would
yeah.
just do that, but so, and also like I really enjoy my family and I want to be around them. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not looking for an excuse to get away from my family. So in the past I want to say like decade-ish, we've been able to do like, a 7-day tour and a 5-day tour and another 5-day tour. This year alone, I've hit it pretty hard. I did a 5 days with New Standards Man in March, and then I did 3 days with Frankie and our friend Beth. We have a combo called the Beth McDonald Trio that we'll record in January. And we did 3 days, and then I just did two more days with New Standards Men, and then we did a 2-day thing with Wowza earlier in May as well. So I've been able to be on the road a little bit more than normal this year for a person who's not like
That's not
it's not
your
in the space.
regular.
Yeah, it's not my regular deal. And I've really enjoyed that a lot. I've been really, really fortunate to do that. Really nice responses mostly everywhere we've played. We've been,
Very cool.
yeah. And how that works is if it's the band where I'm kind of the driver, I set the shows up usually.
Okay.
Mostly. I mean, I'm not disparaging my bandmates at all, but it just seems to be that's how it kind of works out.
Hmm.
My bandmates are totally capable of setting up shows too. I'm not saying they're not, but it just usually seems to be that's the way it is. if I'm playing with new standards men, usually then I'm just kind of, we just figure it out,
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so that's just kind of how we do it.
So
And
how do you select venues or get that set up?
oh yeah.
Do you, are you just finding places that have live music and saying, "Hey, we'd like to come play," or how does that go?
Yeah, I mean, not as much that anymore because there's such a circuit or a web or connection of people who come from the same aesthetic kind of background that I do, where they play music, punk rock music. We'll just call it, for lack of a better word, we'll call it punk rock music, right?
Mm-hmm.
For years and years and years. And those people all know each other, and they know each other from, oh, I remember this from 20 years ago and this and that.
Yeah, this show or that. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what town they're in, you can reach out to them, or a person who's booking in that town or whatever. We have had really nice success with a couple blind, like throw it out and see if it works. And
Yeah.
one just really freaking amazing show was in New London, Minnesota in May. On paper, it had all of the makings of this is going to be awful. Like this is going to be. It was like it's open mic night and there's drink specials and it's like all this kind of stuff where you're just sort of like, oh boy, okay, here we go.
Don't know what you're gonna run into except for drunk people.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
it ended up just being like an awesome night with the coolest people, and like met people that night that I'm sure I'll be friends with for a while. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
love that.
and that's what, again, at my age, that's what it's about. And I should say I turned 47 this week, so that's how old I am.
Oh, you're young.
Yeah.
Come on. You're not old until what is that? You don't get old. You
They
don't
feel
stop
old.
playing because you get old. You get old because you stop playing. So
That's right. Yeah.
playing.
Yeah.
Then you'll be good.
I got some fantastic advice from a dude. He's a guitar player in one of my favorite bands, and we got to play with them. And then recently they actually stayed at the house here too. It's a band called Oneida.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, and this guitar player guy, like this was years ago now, but I was getting ready to have another baby, or we were getting ready to have another baby. And he was just like, and he was so simple with it. He was like, if I can shred, then I can be a good dad. And if I can be a good dad, then I can shred. And it was like, it was like stoner wisdom.
Yeah, but it's, you know what? Sometimes that's the greatest kind.
It totally worked.
It
was
just
great.
simple to the point, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That's really so great. I think as much as we kind of talk about on the podcast, for people who are creative people or doing this kind of on the side and might want to make it a full-time gig and would like it to be what they do.
Yeah.
There still is really so much value in just enjoying what you're doing and, being in it for, I guess, kind of like what it does for you as a person. You're a better person when you get to engage in the things that really make you joyful, and
Yeah.
I think that does translate to the rest of your life, whether it's your family or your job or whatever it is.
I think so.
Yeah, if you can get into those things and really enjoy yourself, it does, your quality of life is better in all aspects of it because you have that outlet and that creative channel available to you. So, I think that's really great.
I think that there's an idea too, that I hold to is I would do this on my own if no one ever paid attention to it at all. And sometimes it feels like no one is paying attention, and I still get an incredible amount of joy out of it, and
I love that. That's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm really, really lucky. And, I'm lucky too. I had parents who fostered creativity when I was a kid and were, just cool about whatever we wanted to do. There was they didn't say no about stuff that would be frivolous. And I'm sure they had moments when I was in college where they were like, come on, dude, like
get real.
Yeah, like I don't want my kid on the road for 40 days, playing every crappy bar in America.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just cool about it, and I know they're like, the music I make is not, I'm sure it is not for most people for real. But they're really, they're really supportive still. Even as an older guy, they're still this super supportive like they were back when I was a kid. So that helps. If you have, I don't know if you have kids or anything like that.
I don't, just dogs, so
Yeah.
but no, I really like that. That's really great. I think sometimes it's kind of interesting. Sometimes people have that environment they grow up in where, that creativity is fostered. And so you go do those things.
Yep.
And sometimes it comes from the opposite situation, where you're really not
Oh,
encouraged and it becomes sort of like a rebellious thing that you do, right? That you're going to go
totally.
and,
Yep.
and, and, play out your highest joy anyway and engage in those things anyway.
Yep.
So, but
And
that's really, you are definitely lucky to have that environment though, where it was encouraged and you were just kind of given that free reign to do that.
yeah, yeah, I think so. I feel like I am. Yeah. And I'm sure, I love Cindy a lot. I think Cindy is
Oh,
the sweetest woman in the world. And on top of
she
being,
absolutely is. She took care of my dad for such a very long time. She is a
yeah,
saint. Absolutely.
absolutely. She's just the greatest, biggest heart.
I know.
Probably the best cook on the earth, like
I would have to agree. I mean, if planet Earth was going to send a representative to another planet for food wise, Cindy is the one she is our Earth representative in the food world.
I
100%.
agree. Yeah.
100%.
And I bet that she was like that with, with her kiddos, like, because all her kiddos turned out awesome, and even if they didn't turn out awesome, I'm sure she's still rad, but I don't know,
Oh no,
talking on,
Cindy, I think I obviously John's got more, 24-hour, 24/7 growing up with her, but
right.
very chill, very sort of broad perspective, I think.
Yeah, that's what it always struck me as. She was, and I don't want to ever disparage where I'm from because I'm really proud of where I'm from. I'm super proud of
Mm-hmm.
being from North Dakota and super proud of being from Wishick and all of that. But I didn't, I mean, I understand that I'm not I was maybe outside of the norm at times, right? I don't want to say
Right.
I was a freaking weirdo or something, but that was a person, Cindy, who never ever made you feel like you were a weirdo when you talked with her. She was just
Oh,
cool. She was just rad lady.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Yes, and I do. Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. That because I've always been a little bit of like kind of like had that black sheep streak in me just a bit,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
like, but Cindy was it was always okay with Cindy, whatever you were,
Yep.
and that is totally. I do think again, blessing to have that in your life, right?
Yes, totally. To have the cool
Mm-hmm.
people like that. So, and they can foster creativity just by being cool and like not being a jerk, like,
Right. Just by allowing someone to be.
yep, totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do think I get it. A lot of the people that we kind of are talking to right now are local. And, I do agree with that. There's kind of or maybe at least previously there has been kind of like where the Dakotas were kind of rural and empty and there's nothing really groovy going on. And
Uh-huh.
maybe you have that in Michigan to some degree. But
Yeah, depending where you are, sure. Yeah.
right, but if you look, you can find a lot of people doing some really cool stuff, and I think that's kind of one of the things that we try to do with this podcast, or that we have a goal to do, is to kind of broaden that net of that community of people like you and the I guess I don't want to say small time in
No, no,
but
no. Small time is perfect.
right, but there's a lot of people doing small time stuff that is
Yeah.
really very cool. And you never
Yeah.
know who you might meet and be able to collaborate with and do something fun with.
Yep.
Even just like artists, for example, for like your cover art or your album art,
Yeah.
like your for Out, the Billy album,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that dog that you have on there that looks like it's kind of like a clay
It's
something.
it's it's like a metal sculpture.
Is that
And
what it is?
yeah, and Billy was a real dog, and Billy was a Boston Terrier like that dog.
Like that dog. So
Yep.
cool.
Yeah, and we
But
love Billy. Billy was a great dog. So yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
But it is
And
really cool, that you never know who you're going to meet and run into that could add somehow to the creativity, right? Like just because
yeah,
someone's not a musician doesn't mean you couldn't collaborate somehow on something.
sure. And in that case, it's even cooler in some ways because that album art was done by a member of that band, Chafe Hensley, who's an incredible artist and incredible guitar player and singer. And when he showed that to us, I was just like, oh, now that's the record cover. Like that is it right there, And
It's very cool. I really
yeah.
like it.
Here, let me turn this light on. Let me see how this works.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah. I don't want to ruin your podcast.
Oh, no, no, no. You're totally fine.
Okay. See, maybe this will be okay. I'm in my room now because my family is. Oh, that's a little better, I guess.
You're good.
Okay.
Yeah, you're doing great. Don't worry about it.
Cool.
we're very DIY here still so far. So,
Great.
very much have some of that going on for us.
Oh, great. I love that. Excellent.
Yeah.
Which gets to kind of, there is a point though where I would be ignorant or lying, I guess, if I didn't say, at some level, even when you're an artist, just making, you're a writer and, you write, and at some point, I'm sure you're like, I hope somebody reads this. And then also, like, maybe if these things start to pay for themselves a little bit, that would be nice too.
Yes.
Which becomes a concern. It's one I've been really bad at thinking about in my entire life. I've never been good with that aspect of what we're doing. And right now, a friend of mine, Frankie Hand, she and I are making podcast music for people and soundtrack music and things like
cool.
that. Yeah, and it's been really nice. And it's not, and we at some point, I'm assuming, we hope that within 5 years, this is something that is like, oh, hey, there's a little extra revenue stream that's coming in for you. It feels again, it feels super weird to us because we're both pretty, we're both pretty anti-capitalist in many ways.
Yeah, but I think it comes down to, I think that, well, there's bills, but and Shane and I have talked about this before, the idea that there's literally billions of people on this planet and we have the internet now. Like, there has to be enough people that would be into your stuff that you could have an income and a revenue stream from it, whatever you're doing, whoever you are, wherever you are. Right. There's so many different ways. And some people might see me as being a little wooey woo for it, but like, I am very much in a space of just, if I continue to think positively and feel positively about it and speak positively about it, the universe has to line the right things up. And same thing with, I think that's in my mind. I think, okay, I would love for us to have a bunch of Patreon subscribers so we could totally pay you to start, like, have an intro song for us. And I'm sure that, there's so many podcasts out there. That's a great thing to get into as a musician, doing podcast music intros, or even, would you ever do, like, I don't know if jingles is the right thing to say anymore, but
we've done music for people who play role play games. We've done music for soundtracks. We've done music for documentary films, literally anything, because from our perspective, music is like the most beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing that we are gifted with, that we get to play it and listen to it and
agree 100%.
We're super open to anything, and we really like challenges too. So that's been really fun. Frankie and I were kind of trying to figure out how to write some pop songs.
Very fun.
Yeah. And like,
if you need help with lyrics, I would be super down. I'm not musical necessarily, but like I can get very lyrical with, like, sort of the poetry type stuff that I like to write. So
great. Oh, that's lovely. I may be writing. Yeah.
Yes, no, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, like, it's really great that you're willing to try and do those different things, because when as a writer, I always think, and I come from a background of having gone to film school, right? So,
really?
Yeah. Like,
where did you go?
Minnesota State University, Moorhead.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So but music is such an integral part. When I think of, like, storytelling for my writing and things like that, and I produce my fictional podcast, that, that's one of the things that I wish I could put more into it is, not just like the performance of, I wish I could have someone who did voice work, but putting together a sort of full production where you do have music and soundtrack, because that really does, it adds so much to the story, right? Like, there's something in music that really bolsters storytelling, and that's why it works for film and TV and creates that atmosphere, right? Like, it really enhances what you're doing.
Totally. And gives you I guess the term better than I would, mise-en-scène, the complete scene of everything, where that there is even a manipulative power to it. And I love that there is a manipulative power when the strings swell at a highly nostalgic point, or
Jaws.
Things get tense. I actually really love that.
Yeah, Jaws would not be the movie it was without that soundtrack.
Absolutely. Completely. Yes. Oh, so many. Thinking of the Doors music in Apocalypse Now, even, and I'm by no means a major Doors fan, but I can't imagine any other music in the world working there, you know, in that
Right.
context, you know.
There are
So
some iconic scenes of movies and things that if it didn't have the soundtrack or the music that went with it, it just wouldn't have the same gravity. It wouldn't have the same atmosphere, right? So
yes,
it's
totally.
music
Yep.
is such an important part. It's I love music just in and of itself,
Yep.
but when you're doing storytelling and getting into that kind of, putting it all together, it's like it really is such a you have to have all the elements in that kind of mixed media, right?
Oh
And
yes, yeah,
I
completely.
love that. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Very, very cool. So, with your, can you talk maybe a little bit about, because this is something that, again, we do kind of talk about the revenue stream, right?
yeah,
So, what are the sort of avenues, right? So, you do these where you might do music for podcasts or documentaries, things
yeah.
like that. But what other things are on your projects? I see you're on Bandcamp and albums are available for purchase. So, can you talk kind of about the different channels that you go to for selling your music or
Yeah.
profiting from your music?
Yeah, there'd be, I guess, three right now. In two, well, three projects I'm in, we have record labels that took a chance on us, I guess,
Very
and
cool.
put our records out. And so we will get quarterly statements. Is it quarterly or is it it's either quarterly or every half a year, I'm not sure, where we will get a statement for records that we've sold. And that's always like a nice little like, oh wow, look at that, you know. And
Yeah.
some of those records are out of print right now because we just didn't, you know, they sold out and we didn't repress them, you know, and then a
Hmm.
couple are pretty close to being out of print. So we don't know when that happens. That's a discussion you have to have later. Hard to do when you have a band that can't tour that much. Touring
Hmm.
is where you make your money if you're in a band, right? That's how you can make your money if you're in a band. It's because you can sell T-shirts and you can sell
As I
records.
say, ticket sales, merch sales. Yeah.
Yeah. The second revenue stream would be just directly from Bandcamp. If whomever, you know, if I put the record up on my own thing or somebody else, like that's how that works. And with a couple of bands I'm in, I'm really super lucky to have the projects pay for themselves and pay for studio time and sometimes even pay for like gas money to get to where we need to go. Then we make, you know, money on the road and all that stuff too. But the Bandcamp is sort of the sort of self-sustaining, maybe not different from Patreon in some
Right.
ways, right?
Hmm.
Other than, you know, you can sell your physical product through there too.
Right.
And then that third revenue stream, yeah, is just if somebody takes a chance on wanting to use your music for placement somewhere. And there are ethical questions there. Like I don't know, like I mean, I'm not a prude, or I'm not a I'm not that's not it. I'm not a teetotaler necessarily, except for when it comes to alcohol. I'm a sober guy, right? And I've been sober for, geez, I don't know, 16 or 17 years.
Hmm.
And so I don't know if I would sell a song to an alcohol company, you know, like I'd have to think
Right.
about that. But then I also know like one of my kids is going to need braces. So
Yeah, there is that, right? Like you kind of have to back and forth way. I don't really feel
yeah,
good about it, but I got to
yeah,
take care of
yeah.
this.
Yeah, I don't know like if I mean I'm not sure like if Halliburton said we'll give you $1 million to use one of your
But
songs in a tank commercial where we're blowing people up. I don't know if I could do that, but
yeah,
you
that one
know,
might be a little rough, but
yeah, yeah. But you
but
know,
on the other hand, somebody's going to be the one to sign that deal. So,
yeah, you know,
why not be you?
there's the ethical thing, right? You know,
Hmm.
and I think, you know, in some cases too, we're trying, you know, as hard as we can. All of the people that I play music with, to a person, are all have, you know, they all have day jobs, and they're
Hmm.
all. And I actually don't. I was actually talking about this with a friend the other day. I mean, like 98% of my friends are all musicians and music people, right?
Hmm.
Because that's just the way it works, you know, birds of a feather and all that jazz.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And I think I know two people. I think I know two people who are musicians who don't have to have a day job. And in both cases, they also teach lessons. So you could say that teaching lessons is a day job, right? It
Right.
is. And they're doing lessons over Zoom or whatever.
Hmm.
And that is pretty wild considering how many people I know who are in bands that, like, you know, bands we've heard of and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like projects that are pretty significant, and they still have to work, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the way it goes now. Things really change. I don't want to, I mean, my part of my day job is I teach the history of rock and roll, and I
Oh,
don't
fun.
Yeah, it's been really nice, but there was a massive change that happened in the early 2000s in music industry, and that just hasn't been course corrected, or it will never be the same again. It's always going to be the way kind of it is right now, probably within goalposts, of a certain way of things going. And that's cool. We got to adapt, we got to learn, everybody changes. I mean, we're a heck of a lot cooler about more than just white dudes making music now, right? We've got a lot more
Oh
people.
yeah, for sure. I mean, that's again, the advent of the internet and the different
Yeah.
platforms available. Anybody can put their stuff out there, and
Yep.
an audience can find you.
Absolutely. So it's harder to make money in music now than it's ever been. But again, at the end, I mean, I'm probably, it's a fatal flaw, but at the end of the day, it really is not something I really worry about. You hope that something will happen and it's cool, and by that I mean like that when you put a record out, people like it.
Right.
But just recently on Bandcamp, a project that I'm in, that I literally recorded the music in my basement, and then Susie sang on it in the upstairs room while I was like working, while I was doing the dishes.
Very fun.
Like we knocked that sucker out in a weekend, and that got picked up on like a Bandcamp daily thing, like, hey, check this record out.
Very
And I was like,
cool.
I texted her, I was like, hey, Susie, good job. We did it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then she was like, yeah, that resulted in one person buying the album.
Well, but you know what? It's that's one person, call it a win.
That's right.
A win is a win.
Yeah, totally. And I love that record. I think that record's fantastic. It's a weird little thing, and it's real loose. But like, it's one of those things, like, we were happy with it. Susie's happy with it. My wife played on it. She's happy with it. Beth, our friend Beth, played on it. Beth McDonald, so we're happy with it on our end. It's just so weird. You have an idea of, like, you see Bandcamp Daily. Oh, that's a popular band.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're on it and you're like, yeah, no, it's not. That's not how that works. Like,
well, but the brilliant thing, though, I think, about where we sort of are with a lot of the technology and the availability of things is, maybe right now it's a space where creative people are having trouble, sort of, it's a hit and miss kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I think it's very exciting to think about the new systems, the new things, the new, call it an app, call it a software, call it a platform, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That there are new channels and new ways of being able to really lean into your creativity and really build your own audience that are coming up all the time. And as much as maybe the music industry has shifted, in the last 20 years, 30 years.
Yeah.
It could shift into something that does become easier for musicians. There could be, you never know what new thing could come up that suddenly it's so much easier for people to get attention to what they're doing. And so I think that's something, for me at least, I look at, I know everybody wants to be worried about things like AI and what have you, and that it's all just the downfall of the sort of natural organic artist or what have you. But I like to look at it as there's more tools coming available to people so that you can fine tune what it is you already do, or, enhance what it is that you already do. Yeah. And who knows what else is coming, right?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, completely agree. And I am more hopeful than I'm dismayed. You know what I mean? I'm more hopeful about, like, something pretty neat is probably going to happen in 10 years with whatever, with X, Y, or Z, so. Yeah.
It could with music too. You never know, right?
That's true.
It totally could.
As a film school person, what has been your favorite movie of the last couple years?
Oh, I'm really kind of, I hate to be this in my mid 30s, but I might be stuck in the 80s a little bit. Like, I am still, I'm sorry, but I'm still in love with Ghostbusters, and I'm still in love with Batman, and I'm still in love with Beetlejuice. And there's some things, Little Monsters and Drop Dead Fred, like, that will just never, ever not be wonderful things to me. I will rewatch them forever.
That's great.
I'm kind of one of those curmudgeonly people that I'm like, stop remaking the movies from my childhood and start writing something new. And or hi, hello, I would be happy to help you I have some new ideas.
Totally.
Come on over to me. Let's make a show and or movie. I'm with it. I'm here. We can do something new and different.
Yep.
So I think I have a little bit of that going on. I don't some of that sort of, dad mentality of, I like my stuff that was, my stuff back in the day. And
I totally appreciate that. I've been known to watch the same movies over and over again too. So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's one of the things that, and I think we've talked about this before on some other episodes, but I think for me too, there is a certain amount of, in the big blockbuster movie world, I think a little over, I don't want to say overproduction, but maybe overusage of CGI, that there's something that becomes very uniform to
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of things. And that's kind of what I like a little bit about some of the more DIY things, even in film or in music, whatever it is, that there is something a little bit more interesting to me in something that isn't like beautifully polished and perfect like Hollywood,
Yeah.
the big things. There's something a bit more interesting and unique in that to me.
And that's the baffling thing for me is I would think that the if they have the full weight of Hollywood behind them, like in the movie, what did we watch recently? Oh, the Flash movie, the
Oh,
Flash
I
movie.
haven't seen that one yet.
I went to because Michael Keaton was in it, so that's why I was like, oh,
Right. Like,
and
took way
it
too long
had,
for Michael Keaton to be Batman again. I mean, he is my Batman.
oh yeah, and he was fantastic in it. He really did. He was really really good in that movie. Like objectively, he was
Mm-hmm.
quite good in the film. The CGI, the effects, the visual
Yeah.
effects were absolutely abysmal. It was like I had thought this stuff was going to get better,
Right.
and it's absolutely getting worse. Like I would wager that some CGI stuff from even 10 years ago or whatever is far, far, far better than what was going on in this film. It was bananas. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
There's a, I don't know if complacency is the word, but doesn't it, there seems to be a bit of a plateau that it's hit, right? Where in that sort of realm where there's only so much you can do with that computer generated stuff. Like there is,
well, I've
again,
read
that.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
I've read that they're grossly overworked, and that's the problem. Is that the people who do that job? There's only a finite amount of them. There's not like tens of thousands of people who do it. There's tens of
Mm-hmm.
thousands of people work on that stuff, but that they're so overworked and the deadlines are so strict
Oh, I'm
that they
sure.
have to just kind of say good enough, and
Right.
that there's just not enough time to do it. So that
Mm-hmm.
somebody one recently was like, maybe the writer's strike that's happening right now will help that a little bit because they'll be able to shore up things. But I don't know how that works on that end of things. You know what I mean? So, but that was one thing I read is like, yeah, the CGI is crappy lately because there's no time.
You know, even that to me is interesting though, because you have to wonder what will be born out of it that is more centered on giving people who are creative in those fields and whether it is the writing or those kinds of effects, will there be a shift because of what's going on, the
Oh
overwork
yeah,
and the underpaid? Like, will there be a shift where more of them will start their own new things and collaborating and doing something more DIY and
yeah,
sort of further get away from the old system of an institution and I guess like Hollywood as being sort of gatekeepers
yeah.
of the money that goes into that kind of an industry and it sort of dispersing out into smaller projects. Like that's, I think, I don't know, maybe what I guess I dream, the dream that it would happen that way, that things become more diversified and not necessarily just held in the hands of a few. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to me to watch that. And again, just what could be coming that we don't know yet that could be really great for artists and creative people, and so
That'd be
I,
rad. Yeah.
right, I do try to
Yeah.
keep that. If we keep a positive outlook, there's got to be some brilliant something coming along for us, right?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that's way better than the alternative.
Yeah, right. it's always
Totally. Yeah.
it's
So
always better to be hopeful than to just think it's all going to crash down and burn, right?
yeah, completely. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. Well, I do want to be mindful of your time. So
Oh,
I do want to give you an opportunity to, plug your stuff. We'll definitely put all of your links, but do you want to just direct everyone to the links below? Or again, is there anything upcoming that you want to sort of plug for yourself?
oh, wow. Well, there is and I probably shouldn't plug it before it's out, but, um, sorry,
Oh,
we
that's
live on
okay.
a busy street. I apologize. There is a new Hand Turner record that is done and we're almost done mixing it. It's got like 2 little tweaks for mixing, and I'm really super happy with this album. I'm really happy with it. I think it's fantastic. And I can't wait. I can't wait till it comes out. I'm really stoked. There is another thing coming out. Actually, I got the vinyl. I just got the vinyl copy. I hope I'm okay to talk about this even. I don't know if I am. There's a new record out by a project called
cool.
Floating Cave.
Okay.
Amulet of Sound, Floating Cave. And that is my friend Drew, a guy that I play with in New Standards Man. And he made a record. It's a drone album. But that is not quite right. It's not quite right to say it's just a drone album. It's not just a drone album. I don't even know how to describe it. It's the most beautiful music. It's very meditative, and he's just so brilliant. And I got to play on that.
Very cool.
I'm really, really, really proud of that album too. And I'm proud of the last New Standards Man record quite a bit too. Geez, other than that, there's a bunch of recording sessions that I'm sure we'll do next year. And yeah, I mean, I'd say refer you to the links below.
All of the links. There we go. Awesome. Well, and once you do release some of the new albums and what have you, let us know. We'd be happy to, post that on our social medias and put your stuff out there and share for sure.
Thank you, Haleigh.
So, yeah, we'll definitely put all your stuff there, and would love to have you back again sometime to check in on what you're doing.
Anytime. I am predisposed to talk with you because you're cool, but also like people who are from where we're from, it's hard to describe where we're from sometimes. And I think
certainly when you run in creative circles, and if you're recording in Chicago, I imagine it's hard to explain to anyone what it's like to grow up in a town of 1,000 people.
It is not the easiest. Yeah. And
no, I've said before to people, like, go to the Walmart in your town. There's more people shopping at Walmart right now than in the town that I grew up in.
100%. Yeah. And was it from Eureka? Is that where it was?
Yep.
Yeah. Eureka. So Eureka is also very small. And I think Eureka also has really good sausage there too, don't they? I think there was a good
I think we could probably have a little bit of a rivalry going, Wishick or Eureka, who's got better sausage. I think we could have an argument. We may have to do some kind of a taste testing thing. If you come back to the Dakotas, we'll get John.
Oh, count me in.
Yeah.
Oh, I would make a trip back for that. Last year, just briefly, talking about freaks on the prairie. I went back to, I went back to Minot last year, and kind of was a sort of ad hoc mascot for this bakery in Minot.
Okay, I think John told me to ask you about this, I think.
Yeah.
How did you become the roll troll?
Yeah, and Prairie, oh my God, sorry, Prairie Lights, is that what it is? I know Prairie Lights is the bookstore. Prairie Sky, there we go. It's the greatest. It's a great bakery. They're the greatest people, the sweetest collection of humans working in one place. I swear to God, they seem to really treat their people really well, and their people treat them well. And anyway, I love those people. They're great.
Yeah, I love it.
Zach and Jasmine. So anyway, and over the years, social media can be a chore and be vapid, and also you find yourself fighting with people on there, which is so stupid. But over the years, they would post pictures of caramel rolls, and I gotta tell you, there are not caramel rolls outside of the Dakotas. Really, it's not something that really happens outside of like North and South Dakota,
other than like Cinnabon in the airport, right?
Yeah, and that's not even a caramel roll the way we know it, like the way Cindy would make a caramel roll. That would
you can't compete. No, Cinnabon cannot compete with Cindy.
Oh, she's the greatest.
Right.
And these guys, and then so I went to go there, and I served as their mascot and all of that stuff. And I just thought, like, these people are so free. They're just free with whatever. They're trusting. Or maybe like you said earlier, they're trusting that things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that things are going to work out, and that something good's going to come down the line. And I'm just so happy to see that there are weirdos like that, So,
oh yes, you'll find us here and there,
Of course. Sorry, I sneezed. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. Don't worry about it. But yes, us weirdos, us toxic positivity weirdos. You need to have a couple of us planted here and there. We help balance things out.
Yeah, you kind of like, the ones who tend to be on the other side of the things. You make us rethink our stance on things once in a while, which I think is really, really nice. So
I'm always looking for, how do I turn it into a positive? That's kind of the thing I've been doing lately. How do I turn this into a thank you? How do I turn this into a thing to be grateful for? And you can find it. It's not always easy.
That's
but you can find it.
You absolutely agree. Yeah. So and it's cool to meet people who you don't have to explain things to. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I love that about the podcast that I've been doing, and certainly with meeting creative people. It's nice to be in a sphere where you feel like you belong, and that's, again, with this podcast and the other podcasts I'm doing, just the ability that we have now to build virtual communities like that.
Yeah.
And to meet people and to find people you can collaborate with and build your friend group. It's again, technology can be a really beautiful thing in that way, and it's exciting to think what better things we can lean into.
Yep.
Especially as creative people, for sure.
Completely. Yeah. Wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We so appreciate it, and I'm sure Shane is sad that he missed it, but we'll love the episode very much.
Well, tell him hi from me, and I hope to meet him sometime.
Yes, you will have to come back again, and we'll, it would be fun to do, like, maybe we could bring you and John in, and we can have a little sort of like musicians, panel. Bring a couple of your friends, and we can have like a little Zoom party for a podcast sometime. That'd be a good time.
Be rad. Count me in. Anytime John or any of the occulters are involved, I'm in. So
fabulous. I love it. 100%. Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Haleigh. You have a great night.
You too. Hi again, friends. I do hope that you enjoyed that conversation that I had with Ike Turner, and I do hope that you will check out all of his links below, listen to some of the music that he has available out on the many projects that he is involved in. I really loved that conversation we had. I do hope that he will come back sometime and chat with us again. If you'd like to support more episodes of the No Small Stories podcast, you can support our Patreon. That's patreon.com/No Small Stories. And you can follow us on Instagram at No Small Stories Podcast. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Do please like, share, subscribe, leave a review, a comment, all those good things that listeners can do. And until next time, remember, no matter how small you start, your story is always a big deal to us.